All right. All right. All right. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, we are live. Welcome to another episode of Smash Time's Lead Therapy, or just Lead Therapy, or I don't want to hang out with my family, so I'm listening to some crazy guy on the internet channel time thing. But whatever you're doing on this great weekend, Memorial Day, Labor Day, sorry, Memorial Day. That's a soda, I promise. Whatever you're doing today, I hope you're having a great time with the family and relaxing, and then everyone enjoys their day off if you're not working tomorrow. So let's check the chat. Let's see who's in the chat tonight. We got Kurt24. What's up, buddy? Ross, good to see you, man. Let's see. Texan65, man. 500 Magnum. What's up? Gemini Cloud. And he's right. Dan is back. And he's probably one of the best YouTubers out there. He's a veteran of the industry. You won't see him blowing up Jello boxes. He does serious gun reviews unless he's doing his limp wrist test. And as you saw from the thumbnail, those are hilarious. When he does a review, sometimes I'll do the limp wrist test, which is worth its weight in gold. And without further ado, let's bring him on to the live. Dan, the firearm guy. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's happening? What an intro. Wow, I have to meet this guy.
The limp wrist test you did on the last video was so freaking funny. I was crying. I was crying my eyes out. That was so good.
I have to force myself to do that.
Wow, it's gold.
You get mentally psyched to do a review. Like you want to hit the main points,
right?
And you want to make sure that it's a certain way. And then I'm getting ready to pack up, and I'm like, that stupid limp wrist test. Oh, because right when I'm like, that's it, I'm good. I did what I needed to do. And then there's the limp wrist test.
How many Glocks passed the limp wrist test?
Pretty good. I've had issues with my Glock 19. Typically, it's really weird because the guns, there are many, and I mean many, that do not pass. And people say it seems like they all pass. Well, they don't. I would say 65% pass the limp wrist test, 35% not entirely. And sometimes it's just a new gun that's sort of getting used to that metal on metal action. But other times, it just doesn't do well with the limp wrist. And I think that it started out actually as a legitimate test. But what I didn't know is that I had a goofy look on my face. And so people were like, that was hilarious the way you did that. I was like, I didn't do anything.
It is hilarious.
So yeah, so that's how it all evolved.
Oh man, it's gold. It's gold. Let's check the chat real quick. We have some other people coming in. Oh, my good friend Tammy. We're gonna go shoot this week, Tammy. I can't wait. It's gonna be fun. Chicago Mike the shooter, TMC, trees are blowing.
That's my man right there.
Another veteran. Will, what's up, Will? You've been hiding out. You don't want to come shooting me. It's okay, man. It's all right.
Is he from Houston? Will from Houston?
Yeah, Will is from Houston now. He's from Houston.
I think he's a regular viewer on TFG, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Will gets around.
Yeah.
Let's see. Gemini Cloud. Nice. Jesus. So, man, you've been on a tear lately, and you've been reviewing some really cool guns, and I want to talk to you about a couple of them. First, the Prodigy has landed. I knew Springfield had something cooking, but I didn't know what it was. And I knew you knew, but I didn't want to ask you because, you're not supposed to ask everyone. For everyone in the chat, when you do YouTube, when you have access to new releases, you're not really supposed to talk about it to anybody, and you can't really talk about it. Even if you know, you just can't. It's kind of like an unwritten rule. And I knew they had something cooking. I didn't know exactly what it was, but now it's out, and I wanted you to come on and talk about it. And the Prodigy, what was your first impression when you opened that box? Was it like, holy smokes, or?
Yeah, it really was. We were notified that there was a leak, and then there were other people who said, yeah, did you get the Prodigy? And you're right, I didn't say anything because that's unethical.
100%.
But there have been times, well, the Ruger PC Charger, that was, and I don't mean to shift, we're going to talk about the Prodigy, but you spoke about pre-release guns.
Right.
You know, the PC Charger was great. It was new. It was a handful of reviewers got it, and then it got leaked all over the place, and it was supposed to go live 2 days from the time I got the email. It said, you know what, it's already out there. Just throw your reviews out whenever you're ready, starting now. Doesn't matter. And that's because somebody leaked it. The Prodigy, I had an idea. I had the pictures. I had some of the specs, and I was super excited. And when it finally came, I was pretty blown away. It takes a lot to get me excited at this point in the game. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
There's always this little bit of anticipation, and you know, sometimes you get excited and you go to the range. It's like, yeah, you know, it's okay. I can see why somebody would like this, but I'm not fully in love with it. I'm fully in love with the Prodigy.
Yeah, it is slick. Hold on one quick second.
Yeah. Hello, audience. Glad to be here on Smash Time once again. I was on this show very early on, had a great time, and then old Smash right there, he and I became friends. Saw him at SHOT Show. He's much more social than I am.
No, that's the rumor.
I'm kind of a loner.
That's the rumor mill.
He's out all over the place. Like this guy knows how to make friends, and he's a salesman, so he can, you know, like for me to get on a live show takes a lot. This is like my 4th time on this show. Only a salesman can accomplish that. All right, he's back. Thank goodness.
All right. So the Prodigy, it just looks nuts. And right, I did see a day before the release. I saw some pictures floating around, and it looks solid. For you guys that don't know, the Prodigy is a double stack 1911 released by Springfield Armory. And I heard from a few people that the 17-round mags were not the greatest, and they were kind of sticking. So I've heard from 2 people that for some reason the 17, maybe the base plate is a little, it's just not fitting in too well. Did you have any problems with it when you were shooting it?
No, and I wish I spent more time with it. When I went to the range, Taurus released a new gun the day before. I did a bullet safe range test. So I had a lot of work to do. And you know, people they don't understand. Like my range is not in my backyard. Like arrangements have to be made to access that range. And the people are cool, they own it. But I only brought the 17-round mag, and it worked flawlessly. I didn't, and then I heard the 20-round mag had some issues. I heard that, and I did not use that. So a real reviewer would have done a little bit of both. I didn't do that.
Well, it's just because your time constraints, you know. So that Taurus gun that they released, was that the GX4 XL?
Correct.
Now that's another one, you know, for everyone that's out there. The GX4 has always come in at a pretty good price range. What is the XL going for?
$429, and then optic ready $459.
That's not too terrible.
Well, you know, and people get caught up with the MSRP, and they say, "Oh, as soon as I heard that, I'm gone." When do you ever pay MSRP? You may pay it the first 3 months after a release, but after that, it just drops like big time, especially with Taurus and Ruger,
right?
And some Smith. You know.
We do have a question from the chat. Dan, what is your favorite caliber for carry? His is a 40 and 38 special.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm into the double stack micro 9s, and I still love car arms, and that there's something about that PM9 that just always draws me in. You know, if I go pocket carry, I'll typically go with that. But I'm a Hellcat guy, love it. I think you know, with the 13 round mag, and most of the time, honestly, I carry it the 11 round mag with a spare, just because it's easier. It doesn't print, but it's a phenomenal gun, and I really do enjoy it. I like the
I carry that today,
capacity.
the Hellcat Pro. I switched to that. It's a little bit thinner than the XDM Elite, so
I
I
might
don't know.
go that route in winter a little more. It may not be an issue for you in Houston, but in Michigan, it's a huge. And I'll tell you what, you know, outside the waistband in winter months when we are constantly with sweatshirts and winter jackets,
It's the best.
why not? You know, we're always stuffing these guns in our pants. Why not go outside the waistband? You're wearing a sweatshirt anyways. You know,
Right.
we have oversized sweatshirts. So I'm going to give that a go, and I'm going to go with the Hellcat Pro, and it's easy for me to get basically any holster because multi holsters is right in my area. And so yeah, I'm gonna go with that and give the Hellcat Pro a try.
Yeah, I have a bunch of hoodies in the wintertime, and you know, Houston, it gets pretty cold. I mean, not as cold as
Okay.
Michigan, but it gets pretty cold. Um, and I always will choose outside the waistband when it's feasible.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
and I've got a holster rig for the Ruger Max 9.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
I've got the P365. Of course, I've got all four of the Hellcats. And what else is there? A couple of those others I have. I think I have holsters for them too. But the Hellcat Pro, I'm gonna give a serious try for winter.
now Taurus is not known for have the most amazing triggers. You know, it's a budget gun, and anybody that complains about buying a $400 gun and they're bitching about it doesn't. Oh, it's not as good as my $1,000 blah blah blah. Well, it's a $400 gun, $300 gun. Some of them. So Kurt has a question or a comment. He goes, "The trigger looks nice in the GX4 XL. How was the trigger in that one? Is it any different than the regular GX4? Did it
No,
feel better?
exact same trigger.
Same trigger?
The whole trigger
Not a bad
group,
trigger.
nothing's been changed at all. Essentially, the only thing that's been changed is the barrel length and slide length.
The trigger's not so bad.
No, no. And Taurus is calling it a single action. I don't know why they do that. It's interesting because there's no industry standard for single action versus double action. It's what the manufacturer says it is. So
Right.
Taurus is pretty. It's common for them to say everything's single action. Same with Sig. A lot of single action out there. And then another manufacturer may say that exact same setup is double action. So they're calling it a single action. Breaks right around 5.25 pounds. It's a nice trigger. It's not super great, but it's not bad either. I want to mention something about what you just talked about. You said people say, well, because it's a $300 gun, I have no interest in it. But what I'm seeing most is the other way around. Because I have a Taurus G3C, I don't need that high-end gun you're showing. And so you have both
Yeah.
groups here saying I can get two of these for one of yours that does the exact same thing and has been proven to be reliable. And I give credit to Taurus for producing good guns and breaking out of that poor reputation, in many ways well deserved, that they had 7, 8 years ago. They broke out of that and did a great job.
Yeah, they make great guns now. I mean, the TX22, hands down, my favorite
Phenomenal.
22. I love that gun.
It's great.
I absolutely love that gun. I wish they'd make that in a 9mm. Their competition, how they has that weird
On the hood of the barrel.
on the hood of the barrel. So the barrel, so for everyone in the chat that doesn't know, or everyone listening, the Taurus TX22 competition, the barrel has the mount for the red dot. So the slide cycles back, but the red dot stays really on target the whole time you're shooting it. I wish they'd make that a 9. That would be bananas.
and it's sort of it's not the same, but they took that brigadier look that Beretta has and kind of copied that. The main difference is when you take the barrel out, you come up and over instead of out and under to remove the barrel from the slide. It's really something. It's great engineering, phenomenal engineering.
What's Up says he saw the Prodigy for $14.50. You know, I was at a coworker's house. Was it Tuesday? Tuesday, looking in his safe, because when you're a gun guy and you go to someone else's house, it's in the guns. You always kind of want to know what's in their safe. So when he invited me to come check his safe out, I'm like, yes, let's go. And he had a ton, maybe 30, 35-ish budget pistols, you know, nothing too expensive. Then he was telling me, he's like, I can't afford that new CZ, or I can't afford, like I was talking about the Masterpiece Arms. He goes, oh, I could never afford a gun like that. I'm like, you got 35 guns you don't shoot sitting in a safe collecting dust that are mid-level. Sell a bunch of those and get a nice gun. You know, there's a lot of guys out there that say, well, I'll never pay $2,000 for a gun, but they'll buy 6 guns that are, you know, okay.
Yeah,
I see that a lot.
Yeah, and by the way, if you do make your way to Michigan and you want a dumpster dive in my safes, it's $5 a safe.
I don't have that kind of money.
Well, there's at least 5 here, so it'll get us a 12-pack and a burger.
Can you imagine 5 safes? You know, I'm blessed. Everybody, I've had to eat a lot of humble pie lately as far as YouTube, but man, if you had told me a year ago, 2 years ago, I would go from 3 guns to quite a bit more than 3, I would have told you to go fly a kite. No way. And man, for everyone that's watching in the comments, I really appreciate all you guys for supporting the channel. And speaking of supporting the channel, please like and subscribe to my channel if you're not a subscriber. And I'm going to post a link real quick to Dan's channel. You should already be a subscriber to the Firearm Guy. If you're not, the link, I just posted it. Please like, subscribe, and get on his channel. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. TMCs, it gets cold for like 2 weeks at a time, winter here in Texas. I don't know. It got pretty chilly. What's Up is talking smack about, I don't know what cold is. Look, so we had that week and a half of a blackout here where the electricity was out, and man, my house got down to 29 degrees inside my house. We were freezing our butt off.
That's cold.
It was freaking cold. So I put the sternos, you know, like the steam table sternos. I lit 4 of those. They're like the little heat things that go underneath steam table pans to keep food warm.
Oh, yeah.
Completely safe inside the house. So I put 4 of those in the bedroom, and we all just camped out in there and watched movies on a laptop. And that room got actually too hot. We had to turn them off.
So you don't own a furnace?
A furnace? No, everything's electric here.
So you have no source of heat, because in that environment you really don't need it.
If the electric goes out, SOL.
Wow. Okay.
Well, I mean, we have a fireplace, but mine is gas with an electric start. Let's see. I don't know what cold is. I did spend a winter in Michigan. I spent 2 weeks in Michigan because I have some relatives up there that I don't really talk to, and it was really cold. My uncle wanted to go ice fishing, which if you've never gone ice fishing, I don't recommend it, because you sit in a little box on the ice and it's just cold. Really cold.
Well, what if you really like fishing? You still don't recommend it for somebody who really likes fishing?
If they really like fishing,
just because you don't like to be cold,
it was freezing.
Here you got people that get up at 5 a.m. and go sit in a tree stand till noon at 0 degrees, and they'll do that in hopes that a whitetail will come out and that they can shoot it or hit it with a bow, and that just made their entire trip. And you're saying don't go ice fishing because it's too cold.
Well, I was 14.
Hence the reason why it's ice fishing. Okay, yeah, that's a clear. It's clear that where you live.
Well, I was in California at the time, and when I went from LA, the sunny, it's a 75 every day at the beach, to Michigan, sitting in a box. It's horrible. It's horrendous.
You make it. You present the situation so horrible. I live on a lake in northern Michigan. Once that thing freezes over, you'll see those little boxes all over the place for people who literally catch dinner. And it's not because they need to, it's because they enjoy it.
Oh,
That's like saying I won't go shoot when it's cold because my fingers will get numb, but you may end up with numb fingers and have to use your gun in a self-defense scenario. And you say, well, I don't know why I didn't hit that guy because I was pulling the trigger. You've never done it. And so, I suggest everybody, am I taking over the show? I'll shut up.
No, it's great.
Oh, okay. I suggest everybody, the next time you're at the range and it starts pouring rain, don't go run to your truck and say, oh, it's cold. Stay out there and shoot and learn how to shoot with wet hands. Learn how to focus in on the target when you've got water coming off into your face, because it's that scenario that you may find yourself in, and at least you'll have a little bit of experience. And
I'm going to start tonight. I'm going to jump in the shower with my...
Oh, gosh, I don't need that visual.
My God, I'm going to dry fire practice in the shower.
I can't get that one out of my head.
Space Daddy says, what's the best pistol that released years so far for you both? You go, because you've touched all of them.
Prodigy.
Really?
Yeah. He has new release. Yep. It's phenomenal.
Oh, man.
Do you see how long I had to think about that? And there have been some great ones.
Man, for me, I don't know. When did I get that TX22? I think I picked that up in January or February. I shoot that gun all the time, even when I'm not filming or anything. I shoot it because it's cheap. It's really fun to shoot. I like that TX22 competition. I do. Have you shot the dagger from PSA yet?
Yeah, I own it.
How do you like that compared to like the Glocks? I mean, $300.
Yeah. At first, I had low expectations, not because it was lacking quality or anything that I could see or feel. The trigger is not great, but it's not horrible. It's just not great. And so I took it to the range. I shot it really well. And then I did a torture test with the P mag versus the Glock mag, fully expecting the Glock mag to win hands down. And I used the dagger, so it got all gummed up inside and everything. I had to do a full field strip, take out each component of the gun and wipe it down and oil it up and put it all back together. And the dagger, I give respect to the dagger. It's not that gun that I'm going to want to grab and go just have a great time with, but I respect it because of what I've experienced.
Yeah, I mean, $300. It's such a good price point. That's a great gun for $300.
You know what else is a great budget gun is the Kel-Tec P17.
Really?
It's a lot of fun, and that thing is dead nuts. And you just burn through that 22 like nothing, and it's much like the TX22 competition, except for it's a Kel-Tec P17, and in the MSRP on that's $199, and it comes with 3 mags. Now you're not going to find it for $199, but if you get it for what I did, right around $250, it's a ton of fun.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah.
There was a question earlier. What do you think about 30 Super Carry?
Don't know much about it. I know some people like Smith is kind of jumping on with the Shield, and I haven't given it much thought. It kind of reminds me of when the 350 Legend came out, which I love, by the way, with a straight walled rifle cartridge. There were a lot of people who were big fans of the 30-06 and the 30-30 for hunting purposes. And like, that thing is the stupidest thing in the world. They're creating a round that is already produced in different forms,
Mhm.
but actually it's not. And you could argue both sides. I don't want to get fully into that. I kind of feel that way. And I was like, you guys are missing out. Fine. More for me. I'll take more of the ammo, more of that, I dig it. And I may live to regret this, but I have no interest in it, honestly. It may be great. I'm sure it is. I'm sure the ammo is going to be very expensive, and the
It is.
firearms
It is.
available are
It's
limited at this
pricey.
point.
I've
Yeah.
seen
So,
some of that 30 super carry. It's up there.
did you notice when it first came out, it got all this press? Everybody, this is going to be the new thing. So
Right.
30 super. When was the last time you heard of it? It seems
About
like
5 minutes ago.
the hype all yeah, because somebody left a comment,
Right.
but the hype has already gone down because you need these manufacturers that are going to produce guns that are chambered in 30 super carry. And if it's not priced right, at least a couple bucks per box, similar to a 9mm, what are you really gaining?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's going to be the next 45 gap.
well, then in that case, it's not going to last because
Yeah.
there aren't going to be many guns to chamber it.
Well, Misty has a good point too in the chat. She goes, Taurus is a reliable firearm, and if it's stolen or something happens to it, you're not losing $1,000 gun. You're losing a $300 gun. That's a lot. That's a really good point.
Misty makes a lot of good points. She is a thinker. She'll think outside the box and come up with something and say, "Wow, I never thought about that." She just does that. She's very wise.
Yeah, 500
Unlike you and
Magnum.
me, unlike you and me that come on here and like ask me about 30 super carry, I have no clue what I'm talking about.
This is a Palmetto State Armory AR-10. To their PSA 10. It is a wonderful rifle. Adjustable gas block was great, and it's it's a tack driver. I have it sighted in at 200 yards, and it's perfect. It's a great gun. Kurt says, "What is your go-to shop in Michigan? I just missed you one time at Top Gun."
Yeah, Kurt, maybe we'll run into each other there because that's it. I also like Recoil Firearms. Haven't been in there in a while, but I know many of the people at Top Gun. I grew up shooting there when I shot indoors. Very seldom do I shoot indoors these days, but if I had to, it would be either Top Gun or Recoil.
That's not bad.
Uncoiled too. I like uncoiled. It's just not within striking distance of my house. But when I come home from work, I may stop at Uncoiled, and that's a great place too.
Jason wants to know Dan's favorite beer. These are great questions. Keep them coming.
It used to be Miller Lite, and then Coors Light. I stick with the lights, maybe because I'm a girl. But recently I've been like getting headaches. I don't know if it's age or what, but it's like the Bud Light seems to be a little easier, so it's kind of dominated a little bit. I'm a little more mainstream. I don't like those home brews that they have and those IPAs and all that. That stuff makes me vomit.
What about like a Michelob Ultra?
Yes, I'll do that all day long.
Yeah, those are good. I'm on the husky side, so I'm trying to watch as much weight as I can. So, what's up says Dan, when are you going to review the Smith & Wesson M&P metal?
Tough one. I'm a little salty on Smith & Wesson. I've been for a while. I have my reasons for that. I haven't shared that publicly. Perhaps I will one day. They're no fan of TFG. That part I'll tell you. And I tried to put out the olive branch during SHOT Show, and it kind of backfired. So unless I can get my hands on it, whether a friend buys it or somehow other than that, I really don't know how, because I don't think Smith & Wesson's going to be saying, oh yeah, let's get one to this guy. So and once again, I've got my side of the story too. That's very valid, but I think their customer service has been lacking big time. And I've experienced that firsthand. My buddy Teresa Blown, who's in the chat, he experienced that with a brand new gun. Your customer service is at a point where they're going to end up with a reputation like Taurus had if they don't turn that around. So, in my estimation, a metal frame opposed to a polymer frame is not going to be a groundbreaking review, simply because everything functions the exact same except for the frame is metal. So I probably won't do that. Now, if somebody had it, I definitely would. But I have no.
Ross says in Michigan we plow our driveways in shorts while drinking a beer.
You're right, Ross. You're right. I think I've seen you do that.
All right. Will says in Texas we shoot wild pigs from helicopters. That is awesome and very true. I would love to do that. Texan 65 says still got busted pipes. Yeah, a lot of people had their pipes break, and everyone was like, leave your faucet dripping so your pipes don't break. I just left it kind of running. I go, you know what? I'll take $150 water bill over a busted pipe any day of the week. So I left them not dripping. I left them kind of going pretty at a good pace, and my pipes are fine. Let's see. Smash Time going to say the Masterpiece Arms. Yes, man, I love it. Hey, what'd you think of that video, man? Was it cheesy? I thought it was funny.
No, I enjoyed it. It kept my attention throughout. I liked some of your editing tactics. When you and your buddy were shooting, then you slowed it down and you were really able to key in on the shots, and then you went back into real time. I thought that was neat. I liked the way you brought your buddy in and talked to him, and then he told the story about how he ended up with two of them.
Yeah.
And how they were different. He wanted this, but ended up with that, and the deal that he got. And then you opened up with some anticipation because you were taking your kids around some museum, and then you finished up with that DS9 in a showcase. And I thought that was very clever. I enjoyed it.
But it was funny. Look at that. Dan is such a professional. He watched my video once and just did my whole script. Amazing. You know what's funny? So when I finished that video, I realized I didn't put in the specs of the gun. And I'm like, crap, I've done the whole video. And so I'm like, how do I do it? And I was like, let me just do a slow motion rotation and do pop-ups and put some music. Maybe that'll work. And I think it fit pretty good. But man, I could already see in the comments, you didn't mention the trigger pull. You didn't mention this. You didn't mention that. And I was like, God, I was glad I was able to stick that in there. But
I thought that was deep. Now, and I saw that you did it in slow-mo. Did you physically take your camera around the gun and then just slow it down as you added that text in there?
No. There's an automated gimbal that you can buy on Amazon that's pretty inexpensive. And you just put your camera on it and it just goes regular speed. And you can bend the wheels front and back. So either you can do a tight circle, a wide circle, or just straight across. And it's like $80. It's not expensive. And it's
interesting.
It made for some really cool shots.
Yeah.
And I actually just finished putting up sound deadening stuff in my studio. So I'm going to start doing more at home. All right. There was another question in here. Where was it? Do you all think ammo and gun prices will ever go back to 2019? No.
No, I don't either. Actually, with the current inflation crisis that we have now, my prediction was that ammo would increase due to inflation. I bought two sets of windshield wipers today. It cost before tax 35 times two, $70 for windshield wipers. I thought that same effect would take place on ammo. So far, it hasn't, but I do not hold hope for the future. And I don't know that we saw the full effect of that ban on Russian imports. And so once we see that actually take place, once these contracts expire, as well as the metals and the powders and everything that's still very scarce, and primers, we're going to probably, I don't know. I thought by now we would see major increases. We haven't. I think a lot of the gun owners are shooting less, which is the reason why. But if it ever ticks up where it's at a pace where people want to shoot and then demand's high again, yes, I think it will increase. So I don't
Yeah.
think
Well,
it's going
plus
down.
too, I mean, we got the midterms coming up, and there's going to be riots, and anything. It only takes something stupid to go on for everyone to throw a fit, start burning down cities. So, um, if I were you and you're out there in the chat and you're thinking about buying the next gun, take a look at your ammo stockpile first and make sure you're not a box and a half away from just having a nice paperweight in your safe. Make sure you have enough. And, I'm going to do this tomorrow. I'm taking everything out of the safe. I'm going to organize it. I'm going to make sure everything's matched up. If there's any guns I don't know that are sighted incorrectly, I'm going to take them out tomorrow afternoon and shoot them, make sure everything is sighted in, and just kind of do some good housekeeping, because you never know what could happen in the next few months. You saw Biden's the Fuhrer speech a couple of days ago. It was bananas, absolutely nuts.
And check the batteries in your optics.
100%. That's a fantastic idea, Dan. Let's What's Up says he was at Uncoiled yesterday. 500 Magnum. Says, Smash Dan, what's y'all's favorite handgun caliber overall? Mine is 500 Magnum. Personally, mine is 10 millimeter. It's just
I'm
very
a 10
expensive.
millimeter fan too.
It's just expensive. If it
50
was the
Action Express is a lot of fun, but it's very expensive. Like it makes 10 millimeter seem cheap.
Ooh.
So if I had a bunch of that, I've got a couple boxes. I shoot that sparingly. 10 millimeters a blast.
Yeah, it's just it's so hard to find it lately. Jack Bauer says I love the firearms guy. Been watching forever. Thanks for all you guys do. Love the content. Thank you, Jack.
I appreciate that, Jack. Thank you.
How did Dan come up with the limp wrist test? Oh, he's late to the show. So Dan was goofing around one day, and everyone was I guess so. You were just doing it just as a limp wrist test, but you were just unconsciously making a funny face, and you got so much feedback from it because it's hilarious. I mean, you went all in on this last one, which was, I mean, that's gold.
I have to fight myself to do it these days. Like Don, who's in the room, like he knows. I'm like, he goes, you have to. Same with Harley, Riders Range. He's like, you have to do this. I'm like, okay. And then I enjoy it.
Yeah. Kurt says he really likes the videos you're doing the scamming websites. I know, man. You're doing a service to the whole community when you put these guys on blast.
Nobody watches them anymore, though. I've got so much content. Every time I search a gun, I find another fake website. I literally I could sit down when we're done with this chat and do 5 of them in the next hour. It's that easy for me to do it, but nobody's watching. Like at first it was something new and exciting, and a lot of people were watching. Now everybody is either
take that as a compliment, because look, the scammers. See, everyone thinks when you get those Nigerian emails, whatever, all that bad grammar and all that, it's because they're not doing it. They're just, their English is a second language. No, they do that on purpose. All the bad grammar and mispronunciation and the odd words, the scammers do that on purpose, because a smart person will see that and be like, oh, it's a scam, and throw it out. A not so smart person will look at it and go, oh man, a Nigerian princess needs my help. Let's help her out. So they'll go all into it. It's to screen out intelligent people. So all that bad grammar is done on purpose. And so maybe just your viewers are so smart. They're like, I don't fall for these scams. So,
well, it's not hard, because if they don't take a credit card, which could be redacted, then they're charging with Bitcoin or Venmo or PayPal that does not allow, with their platform, firearm transactions, Cash App. Some of those I used to know of none of these. Now I know of all of them because of doing these things. I had to learn. I didn't know what a Cash App was. I'm old, man. Cash App, like I know cash. I'm very, very knowledgeable of cash, but it seems to be a minimized way of paying these days.
Yeah, I still try and pay cash as much as possible. Clayco 47, he says, I think the kids show the show. Hey, real quick, shout out to Clay. He has his very first live coming on right after this one. So after this live, go to his channel and check it out. He's got one starting about 8 o'clock tonight. It's his very first one. So he's going to lose his live virginity on air. Ammo Crunch round 2 is on the way. I really think so. Smash Time and Dan, what do you think the next thing will be in the Micro 9 market? We got the Hellcat Pro 365 macro. Curious what they will roll out next.
Tough question. Nobody saw the Kimber R7 Mako, and that just happened to arrive early summer. Same with the Mossberg MC2,
right?
SC. There are a lot now. There was once a time where it was big deal. I equate it to this. If you recall, if you're old, like I don't know how old you are, Jack, but like I'm like really old. Okay, cell phones started out really large, and I had one, the one real large with the antenna that went in, and then they became smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And you look at some of those micro 380s, they're very small. And now what are we seeing? Same with phones. Phones got larger and larger and larger, and people don't mind carrying them. And now you're seeing the same thing with handguns. They started out with a 3-inch barrel. Now they're going to 3.7, 4-inch, 4 1/4, and people are carrying them. So, yes, I think that size, you look at the Hellcat Pro and the 365 XL and now the GX4 XL and so many others, what was used to be considered the way to go, real small, has now gotten larger, and capacity always plays an issue. So I think that there will be a lot of copycat effect that takes place, and it's going to be a new release, but it may not be a big deal new release because we've become accustomed to it.
Yeah, and if you're designing guns at you're one of these big companies and you're just sitting there looking at all these guns, like how much different can you make next year's gun and the year after that? And because a big company has to release at least 1 or 2 new guns every year. How innovative can you? I mean, the pressure is really on these guys.
Well, and when they finally come up with the idea and they decide it's going to be a go, you're looking at least a year and a half for all of that technology and the engineering and everything else. A lot of gun enthusiasts, they get it wrong. They say, well, what's the big deal? Like, can't they just like take that and then throw it into that and make it a little bit small? It doesn't work that way. We're talking about ballistics here. We're talking about an
explosions in your hand
in a device. Like, there's a lot of safety issues. There's a lot of engineering. There's a lot that changes. And so, yeah, you're looking at, and if you think, look at what Taurus has done this year, and better yet, look at what Springfield has done this year and how many guns they came out with. It literally blew everybody away in terms of new releases.
Yeah, they had 6. They had a bunch of 1911s. I mean, 1911s are just killing it.
They probably had about 12. You have to consider the Hellion and
that's right.
The precision rifle, and then you look at the
Wild, the 5.56 Wild AR.
Yeah, and then you look at the XDM Elite models that have expanded. Everybody forgets about those because they come out with all these other 1911s. They and then on top of that, they're coming out with, well, not necessarily them, but third-party distributors are coming out with like a it's escaping me now, but like a Davidson's only all gray frame Hellcat. And then they're coming out with, you look at the Hellcat line, how that has expanded to 4 separate guns now.
Yeah.
And now they're making things optic ready. They have added so much to their inventory, it's hard to keep up. The SA-35 is another one. And of course, now we know the Prodigy. It's been unreal. The EMP.
The EMP is really nice. I want to get an EMP, but that Prodigy, that's next on my list. I'm trying to find one local that's not $300 over MSRP at the moment, because So first couple weeks of release are going to be a premium, but we got SGNE in the house. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Lee Fox is also in the house. Lee, I have that brass for you, my man, the 4570 brass. So Dan, Lee Fox is a subscriber and a friend of mine. And when I got that lever action in 4570, I was stunned at the price of ammo, 60 something dollars a box. And so he met me at the gun range, and he gave me a couple boxes of ammo. As long as I brought him back the brass, I go, man, that is a fair trade.
Stop right there. Lee, I could use a friend like you. We could be buds. I'll give you my number and we could talk. I've got a 4570 myself, and I don't have any ammo, and we can be friends. I'll share my deepest secrets with you.
500 Magnum says, Dan, what are y'all thoughts on a 7.5 FK BRNO?
It's amazing. It takes let's say a 5.7 by 28 millimeter to the next level. I mean, this stuff it goes through soft armor like nothing. Very little recoil, very loud. It's noisy, huge muzzle flash, similar to the 2022 TCM, but amplified. And so it offers a lot. It is like a rifle caliber. It's small. It's expensive. Unfortunately, the lot of ammo that I got had some issues, primarily, and that was the issue. But when they did fire, it was great. It was like checking out a handgun for the first time after shooting BB guns all along. It's like, where have you been my whole life? It is really cool.
Wow, that's a heck of an endorsement. Defense Dad says, I'd really like to see SIG come out with a 10+1 version of the P938.
That would be cool, but I don't think there's a market for it. If you look at, Springfield dropped the 911 line, the 911 line.
Yeah, I wanted to get one of those. It looked really cool.
Right. And so if you look at a lot of the double stacks, minus the Smith CWX or whatever, SWX, or I already gave my thoughts on Smith, but that's a hammer gun. But in terms of the small double stack mag handguns, they seem to be striker, and these guys, like, I get caught up into this too. We say, well, if they did this would sell a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just Dan thinking. These guys had teams of research professionals who study the market. They look at their sales. They look at other companies' sales. They share data. What is hot out there? And then they let that drive their decisions.
Right. We got Dale Funduck says the SA-35 is the gun of the year. I got to shoot an SA-35 the other day for the first time. Pretty nice. Pretty nice gun.
Well, if it's, I never shot it at this point, but it's, from what I'm told, it's got a way better trigger than the Browning high power. I've got an original high power. It's a Mark III, and the single action trigger is rather tight. And I've had some issues with the gun. And so even though it's a historical design, and it was Browning's last design, and they called it a high power, you may not know this, Smash, but they called it a high power because it actually held a double stack 10-round magazine. That was high power for that time period. And so that's where it got its name. And so then you've seen that it evolved to a 13 and 15 round mag. But I really wanted to do a comparison, never did. And so I'm yet to shoot the SA-35.
Yeah, it's a high power clone. It's nice. We got Mateo in the chat, and we have Roger Ray here. Pretty cool to see two guys that I'm subscribed to on the same chat. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you, Roger. I appreciate you subscribing.
Yeah, thank you as well. And Mateo, I miss you, bro. You want to talk about somebody that knows a lot about guns? Mateo's the man.
Mateo gets around too.
Yeah.
Just saying. BV Luminous, what's up? Gort, Easy Rock. Look at all these guys coming late to the game. Late to the game. Um, serious question, Dan. Now, me and you talk a lot off, but I was saving this question just for this live. Would you put the X-Tar carbine in the top of the ultimate truck gun? Like the ultimate truck gun that you could just leave in the back of your truck? I mean, is it something you'd put in that category?
I would, because I've had a gun stolen out of my vehicle,
Breaks your
and
heart.
it was a Glock 19, and
Doesn't break my heart then.
what's that?
If it's a Glock, it doesn't really break my heart.
Right,
But
but it broke my heart. Well, what broke my heart was there was an illegal gun on the streets, and that bothered me big time, and that
yeah,
somebody could be killed with the gun that I originally owned. But and it goes back to what Misty said earlier, and that is, if it gets stolen, that could happen, or if it gets confiscated, you're not out a lot of money, and it does work really well. And being a delayed blowback system, it's very soft shooting for an all polymer gun, minus the barrel and a couple steel inserts here and there. It's pretty much all polymer.
and you've
And
had
so,
no problems with it, right?
yeah, I mean, I it's still new to me. The Gen 2 model is, and it's once you get the optics sighted in, it's like anything else. You'll shoot as well as your optic will allow you, and if you pull the trigger the right way, you should be pretty accurate.
Right. I had a subscriber bring the first generation to a meet, and I shot several magazines through it. And man, for a polymer etch a sketch, home printed 3D looking gun, it went bang every time, and it 30 yards. It was a tack driver. It was great,
It's cheap too.
and it's cheap. How much is it? 450.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, 449. And now they're producing their own Glock pattern mags, and they made them at 18 rounds. And when you feel it, it doesn't have all the sight holes and everything else. It feels just like a Glock pattern P mag. Like it's not as tough as Glock with that steel insert in there. I'm sure they have some metal in there, but it's almost identical. And if you think about it, those P mags, they run pretty well in the Dagger and others. These X-Star mags run really well too, so far, with my experiences with the EP9 Gen 2.
500 Magnum has another question. What's your favorite rifle caliber?
I would say I would agree with you, 500 Magnum. I love the 308. And if you stay tuned to TFG channel, I'm going to be featuring another one that's going to be new to the market. That's all I'm going to say. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be cool.
When is that video dropping?
I have to get the gun first. I don't currently have the gun.
3 weeks.
But, yeah, hopefully. I need to get out to my range where I can stretch out a couple hundred yards to do it justice. I'm not going to shoot into a berm at 50 yards with a 308.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, my favorite rifle is Chayburn 308. It's an AK Malat Vepr in 308. And I may have shared this with your audience before, Smash, and if you don't mind, I'd like to say it again.
Sure.
So this was going to be a big deal in the U.S. and the Malat factory in Russia were exporting these into the U.S. Well, the first shipment came in, it was about 300 rifles, as well as some in X39 and some 12 gauge and some in 308. They were AK pattern Veprs.
Mm-hmm.
And they had the tubular folding stock and everything else. It was a big deal. Well, during that time, the Malat factory in Russia burnt down. And they said, hey, yeah, you remember that contract? It's not going to happen. Plus, Obama ended up putting blocks on export or imports for us from Russian. So all this happened. It was done. So a $1,250 MSRP AK Vepr Malat, that was the MSRP, essentially what I paid. It now doubled in cost. And it's phenomenal. I love it. It's all RPK. It's got the same disassemble and everything else is a standard AK and X39, except for it is 308 and it's phenomenal.
Man,
sorry if I'm taking over the show. I don't know.
No, are you kidding me? This is great. See, if people that know me know that I don't really know a lot. So that's why I have other people come in, Honest Outlaw. I have you. I have all these brainiacs come in that really know what they're talking about. And it makes me feel like, I'm part of the team.
Well, I have to say, the only way to really learn is to, like I've got subscribers that, like Mateo's one of them. They're way more intelligent than I am. But when they say something, you think about it, you ponder it, you make research, and then that just adds to your knowledge base. YouTube has made me a better gun person across the board, and that's because people who are smarter than I took the time to share stuff with me that helped me become more firearm intelligent in various areas. I'm still lacking in many cases.
Oh, nonsense. You're being too shy here. Bob Goodwin says, I recently talked to SIG. They can make 5 times the amount of polymer pistols and steel pistols in the same time and cost.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Desert Tactical says, for some reason, I really want a SIG M18. I've never shot that gun.
Yeah, I shot the M17. Essentially the same thing. One's a little bigger than the other, but it's really cool. But when it boils down to it, it's a full size SIG P320 in flat dark earth.
Yeah. Let's see. Any more questions from the chat? I don't see any. If you got any more questions, ask them now. We got Knights Custom Builds. What's up, buddy? Misty with her flattering compliments. We will always take those. Thank you, Misty.
Thank you, Misty.
I got to figure out what store she works at. I'm just going to pop in one day.
Because is she in Texas?
No, she's not in Texas. Misty, where are you located?
Wouldn't that be something if the two of us just walked in? We're here to see Misty.
Yeah. Right?
She'd be like, what do you guys want? You see you guys, I see enough on the computer. I don't need to see you live. Right. Oh, we thought you'd sell some box of ammo. No, get out of here.
Yeah. Will's like, it's not what you know, but what you're willing to learn and be willing to learn from others. 100% true. Absolutely. So I have to ask you about the brace thing when it comes to effect. What are you going to do with your AR pistols? Are you just going to make them into rifles, or are you going to register them, or are you just going to take them apart? Because I don't know what
none of the above.
I haven't decided yet.
None of the above. I bought these all under legal terms, many of which I paid tax for. Well, all of them. You're always paying tax one way or another. So I bought them under legal terms. Everything was handled. It was during the Obama administration where you actually received a letter with a pistol brace, and also a bump stock too, by the way, that would say, this is legal and this is why. And I bought with those terms. Now they're changing the rules of the game. They're moving the goalpost. And they're saying, oh, what you once bought legally is now illegally. And if you own these, you're a felon. I'll cross that bridge when it comes.
Yeah. So what I did, and here's my thing. Like, look, I'm not going to register any of my AR pistols. I have I have one-ish. So I went on eBay and I got a 4.5-inch flash hider. So I'm just going to JB weld that to the end of the pistol and call it a day there, because I don't have any real shorties, and all mine are 12.5 inches. So throw on a little 4-inch flash hider. I'm golden. I don't have to worry about nothing there. Now it's 16 inches. Leave me alone.
Well, yep. And you would have to weld that on to be legal.
Well, JB weld, it's not coming off.
Yeah. I misspoke. I said, well, I didn't misspeak, but when you said I'm not going to register in Michigan, I did register because that is the law with short guns, or at least anything deemed a pistol. So I was skirting my way around that law with an out-of-state carry permit, and then I became a little more compliant. I have got my reasons that I'm not going to share publicly. but I don't want any heat for something I could easily do. I don't want to be so much so where I'm a victim of myself, if that makes sense. So
Right.
so yeah, we do that in Michigan, and I hate it.
So here's my plan, and anybody else out there can either take it for what it's worth. So I'm not a very smart guy, so I went and I got a tube of that JB Weld, which once you put it on something, especially a barrel, it's not coming off. It is not coming off, and I'm gonna get a couple of those real long flash hiders or muzzle devices, whatever that'll make it 16 inches, and then you get a 3-month grace period when they pass that law. So I'm sure as soon as they enact it, it's going to be sent to the courts, and who knows what's going to happen. So I'm going to wait to the very last day and see what happens. And if they flim flam it, whatever, I'm just going to make them all rifles, or I'll change the barrel to a 16-inch barrel and call it a day. But I'm not going to register any of that stuff. I mean, it's not worth it to me.
Well, I don't even think they're gonna ask you to register. Then they're gonna ask you to pay an additional tax. Then they're gonna ask you to do something else. This was not what we signed up for when we purchased these items to begin with. Now if they want to say everybody who currently has one, you're grandfathered in. I don't like that, but it's a little more fair. You can't move the goalposts after you've already made purchases. So it's almost like saying if I purchase a baseball bat, and then 3 years later come by and say, you know what, that baseball bat is now illegal. Well, this is all news to me. I'm already past a baseball bat. I now have an aluminum one. You don't get to decide that. It makes me so angry the way this government thinks that they can snap their fingers, everybody vote yay, and all of a sudden we have to jump through hoops because what was once legal under the government is now illegal because a bunch of liberals decided they were going to change things because they want to blame us for the crimes of others. It makes no sense to me. I know I'm preaching to the choir. I do it every time, but if somebody else could say the same thing to somebody who doesn't know, then that would help.
So What's Up has a interesting comment. He goes, Smash is basically saying he's going to comply. I'm so disappointed. Hey, man, if it becomes law and there's no way around it and it's the law of the land, same thing with having Texas made suppressors or making my own suppressors with whatever. I'm not going to have 2 guns in my safe that are felonies so I can lose all my other guns, because when you're on YouTube and you're out there, better believe me and Dan are both on somebody's list, and they know we got a bunch of shit. So for me, look, I'm not going to die on that hill.
I would let it run through the courts and let it be upheld in the courts before you weld anything.
100%.
Because you don't want to have to try to unweld it after we win, and if we win. But I wouldn't do a thing. I would because it's going to be challenged. It's going to be held up. Nobody's going to get prosecuted until it's held up in court one way or another. And then at that point, if you feel like you have to make a move, then do it.
Yeah, I mean, for one, I don't know. I really don't have a lot of AR pistols, but I'm not going to die on that hill. For me, I think that's silly.
Well, it is silly, but what's more silly is they're moving the goalposts again. They tried this. They tried this about 5 years ago with rifle ammo. Well, hang on. I bought this under legal terms. I paid tax. I gave the government what they wanted. I now own it, and now you want me to turn it in? You're out of your mind.
Oh, 100%. TMC has a good hemp. JB Weld isn't an approved method. Dang. Silver solder or blind pin and weld. That's a
solder,
bummer.
Silver solder. So solder it together.
BB for everything, a jig, and tooling and instructions. The time for compliance is gone. All right, so you have to pin and weld it. I was kind of hoping I could get around it on that, but I don't know.
What I want to know is if you actually had an agent come to your house and they inspected it, how would they know? You can say, "Yeah, I welded it. You try taking this off. Don't you dare put a wrench to my, but try taking it off. See if you can get it off."
No, but everything is getting so nuts now. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, they're not showing up with warrants yet, but wait till they get a little bit more manpower, then you'll see it.
And then I'm telling, and everybody, how many people do we have out there?
In the chat right now, there's 50.
Okay. We're talking about this stuff, and a lot of people have strong opinions, and that's good. You should have strong opinions. But when situations get to this, where we have an idiot in the White House like we do, we have a Congress who is incompetent in terms of guns and most other things. You and me have very little ability to combat this, but the gun owners of America does, and some of the other ones out there,
Right.
including your locals. And I dealt firsthand with the gun owners of America and what they were going to do with the bump stocks. And they had contacted me, and I actually recruited somebody from Michigan to be a defendant, and they were going to defend them in court. The reason I share that with you is because if you're not a member of the gun owners of America, who really does stand on the front line for the way you and I get angry when we have this type of discussion, then you're really not helping the cause. You can watch a YouTube video and say what Smash or I did wrong. That's all fine.
Yeah.
But they really help the cause. You have to go to a bigger and larger source. I'm not an attorney. And so they have that.
Yeah,
I'm
GOA,
not the
GOA
greatest.
is phenomenal.
I'm sorry.
I said GOA is phenomenal. If anybody in the chat,
GOA is great.
fantastic.
And there are others too. Join them all for if you feel that strong about it. But there are 50 people there. I don't think GOA would mind if they got maybe 30 new members tomorrow, and all of a sudden that's 30 more people sending emails to their local representatives. That's 30 more joining dollars coming into their pocket so they could fight these fights for us. I just wanted to state that point.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's kind of not funny. And John, if you're out there and you're watching, you're probably not. So my buddy John just SBR'd 2 pistols so he could put front grips on them, paid $400, the whole tax stamp thing. And then they just released this. He's so pissed right now. He goes, I could have just waited and got it done for free. Because there's a lot of people that SBR pistols. So I don't know. I really have no interest in doing it.
So that's the deal. They're saying you can SBR it and we'll waive the $200, but then you have government control of it. No different than a suppressor.
Right.
So they're going to waive the $200, but you still have to get your fingerprints. You still have to fill out that.
And take a picture of it and send a picture of it in.
Yeah. And send a picture of you. Like, you have to jump through a lot of hoops to make this happen.
No, I'm not interested in that at all.
No.
Jack Bauer says the brace thing pisses him off. It sucks they're moving the goalpost. I know. TMC says Smash has a family. Each person has its own. Man, I tell you what. For this one, I'm not going to die on this hill. Let's see. Paul H. SB Tactical may go out of business. If you're going to take the time to submit a Form 1 and jump through all the hoops, you might as well put in for an actual stock and pay the $200. Well, that's the thing. If say you have an AR pistol and you Form 1 it, right? Once it's formed, then you can put a stock on it. You can put a front grip. Then you can do whatever you want to it because you've SBR'd it. So, I mean, I kind of thought about doing it on one of them just so I could, really jazz it up, put a front grip on it and put a real stock on it. I thought that'd be kind of neat. I was, last year I was thinking about SBRing a gun so I could put a front grip and all that stuff, but we'll see. Let's see. Defense Dad says, I'm glad I was home alone when I watched old Sniffy's speech, so nobody heard me cussing at the TV. That's hilarious. Did you watch that Fuhrer speech where he's in front of that red background? It is bananas.
I can't watch that idiot.
I've watched the highlights of it, and it was nuts.
I couldn't stand him his entire career, and I certainly can't stand him now. I just can't do it.
It is hard to watch.
Yeah,
it is.
And I don't need anybody telling me what a criminal I am because all of a sudden he said I am, or somebody else misused a firearm. I don't need to hear that. I've heard it enough.
Yeah. What's up says, I don't like the NRA. It's been run by a liberal. The NRA, man, if they just if they just cut the head off that company and rebuilt it a little bit, it would be phenomenal.
It's almost like a school district where they have all these great plans and they do some good things for the kids, but they're top heavy. And when they're top heavy and they get addicted to the money coming in, and then they, one of the things that nobody talks about, they worry about, the NRA contacting you and always begging for more money and giving you these surveys. Do you feel it's right? This and it's all in a way to generate more money for the NRA. They soak these manufacturers to death, like they really do. So it's like it's going to cost you for this and that. Like these manufacturers pay a lot to the NRA, and it's hard to say no. They have some major publications out there. They get in front of a lot of eyes, but they're top heavy and they're definitely money driven, and that has taken a lot of us out of the game and said, hey, thanks, but no thanks. You had your time. You did everything you could to ruin it. Much like the reason I say a school district, a business, you name it. They get top heavy. They get addicted to the money. And what happens? A couple of years later, they said the NRA was going to file bankruptcy. Well, what are you doing? What are you doing with the money? Where are the open books here? I don't worry about that with GOA. I don't worry about that with my local gun rights organizations.
Yeah. So I was at IV-88 when I joined GOA, and they had all the head guys there. And this is last year. And I said, what's to stop you from becoming just like the NRA? I mean, a year from now, what's to stop you guys from embezzling money or spending money on all this crazy stuff? And I guess they've already talked about that internally, and they have a lot of checks and balances in place at GOA where it is more of an open book. So nobody can really do anything in the shadows, So they are taking precautions to future-proof themselves.
Well, and you can contact Eric Pratt right now and he'll get on the phone with you. You can't do that with Wayne LaPierre. Perhaps you can. I never tried, but I've been on the phone with Eric Pratt. These guys are accessible. And one of their biggest strengths is the numbers. They send out those emails. I did it just yesterday. I got another one. And most of us have autofill on our phones. You autofill everything and you send it off to your reps. Thousands and thousands, if not millions, are going through people in the government. Will it make a difference? I don't know, but maybe. It can't hurt, and it takes you like 10 seconds of your time.
Right. Defense Dad says, without the NRA, most gun ranges would go out of business because they control the insurance for firing ranges. No kidding. I didn't know that.
Well, and you're right, Defense Dad. And also nobody talks about this. There is no organization that does more to educate people on the safety of firearms than the NRA. So they do some very good things. And we need the NRA. We just need an open and honest NRA that actually fights for the things that we find important.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see. Anything else? So your current carry gun right now is what, Dan? Do you change as the year goes on?
Oh, yeah, I mix it up a little bit, but I try not too much.
So what's your favorite holster brand? Because you mentioned you have the the Ruger Max 9.
Yeah, I've got an alien gear for that.
I have a crossbreed, which is similar, and I
Mhm.
love it, man. It's really nice.
I've got a crossbreed for the Hellcat OSP. For the non-Hellcat OSP, I've got a multi-holster. So I've got a variety of holsters, primarily multi-holster because they're local and I really like them as friends. But there are a lot of directions I could go. I primarily go with the Hellcat and the Car PM9. But like I said, I'm going to go outside the waistband and have a more comfortable carry with the Hellcat Pro. That's going to be the plan. We'll see how it works.
When I first started carrying, I always had it outside the waistband, and I would carry the XD, but I had two holsters. I forget the names now. But one, it had it really low. So if I reached up for anything, you could see the holster. The other one, it was up pretty high on the hip for outside the waistband, and it was a lot better. God, I think it was the crossbreed was up high, but it was way more comfortable. So, when I first got into guns and carrying, crossbreed was like the name of the week, and everyone's like crossbreed, crossbreed, crossbreed. So I bought, I'm sure you have a big tub of holsters in your house.
Mm-hmm, I do.
Most of mine are crossbreed, and shout out sticky holsters. I have to ask you a question. Have you ever carried a sticky holster?
No. I've watched your videos and I've watched your chats with sticky holsters, and not one of them did anything to spike my interest in a sticky holster.
Have you ever tried?
No.
I'm gonna send you one.
No, you're not.
You're gonna love it, and I'm gonna hand deliver you a sticky holster. You can be like, that is the best holster in the world.
I'm not doing it. There's no way.
Will says Enigma holsters is great, can rock short shorts and a tank top. And if you ever seen Will in real life, he's got the Richard Simmons shorts height.
Yeah.
So, and he lets it all hang out. Will is a very free spirit individual.
Well, that's good. I'm glad.
Hey,
now
so
I have the same visual that I had when you talk about practicing shooting while you're in the shower. Thanks a lot.
Well, hey, so you did a video real quick on the bullet safe body armor. Man, I got sent a set of body armor, and they said, go ahead and destroy it. And I'm like, I've had it for about 2 months, and I'm really having a hard time bringing myself to destroy a perfectly good set of body armor.
Did they give you 2 sets?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's fair then.
But I don't want to wreck something brand new. I mean, when you grow
up,
they
want you to wreck it. They want you to. They're proud of their product. They want you to wreck it, and you could wreck one side and then go wreck the other side because it comes with 2 panels. That's what they want. You're not being a good steward of their product because they gave you one to keep. Like with Bullet Safe, I'll be more than happy to shoot their product, but they have to give me another one to keep, and they've done that.
I just hate blowing up a perfectly good body armor. Same thing with scopes. I get these scopes. I'm like, yeah, it'd be really cool to torture test this optic, except you look, it's like, man, I spent $400 on this optic. I'd hate to just wreck a perfectly good optic.
Right, but with a ballistic vest, you have to make sure it does what it says it does. And
you know what I'm going to do?
I'm going to bring it. Before we go on, how many of these panels do you suppose the company themselves shoot and just privately to test their product? Maybe
probably 100, a lot.
200, a lot, right? They need to make sure. And then it goes to the National Institute of Justice to make sure that it does what they say it does. And if it does, then they certify it. And so you have all this going for you. And then they send you one and you say, I don't want to shoot it.
That's a good point. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring it with my next event, which is it's November 6th. It's my after Halloween shoot. So if you're in the Houston area, November 6th is my after Halloween shoot. Bring out your pumpkins. I'm not going to say we're going to have explodey devices, but we're going to have explodey devices. We're going to put all over your pumpkins, and then you can blow it up. So November 6th, Houston, Texas at Renaissance Shooting Club. Bring your pumpkins, collect them from your neighbors. Just show up, go to the grocery store. I'm sure everyone's throwing out pumpkins by that time. So collect all the pumpkins you can, and we are going to blow a lot of pumpkins up. I'm not going to say we're going to be using tannerite, but we're going to be using a lot of tannerite. So it's going to be a good time. So November 6th, register, go to smash_time.com. And it is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. So I'm going to bring the vest to that event, and I'm going to let other people shoot holes in it. Everyone can line up.
Whatever. I'm sure that it's if it's anything like the bullet safe, then it's probably rated up to 10 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, then I wouldn't go further than that, to be fair to the company, and shoot it up, see what it'll handle, then check out the internal components of it. I was really interested when I took apart this bullet safe. It's strong.
Yeah, it is pretty cool, that stuff. And so that's what I'll do. I'll blow one up.
Well, blow up both panels too.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna let everyone blow it up. It's gonna be great. Everyone can take a couple shots at it. And let's see, real quick, guys, if you're not a subscriber to the Firearm Guy, please, I just put a link in the description. Click a new window, subscribe to his channel. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. I would greatly appreciate it also. BV, it's just stuff. Hit it with 45 super. Deadly D, trust your life, but won't test it. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Tannerite the vest after. TMC, you read my mind, buddy. It is going to be probably on fire by the time this is over. Just saying. It's going to get crazy. Smash time. If you're ever considering using the plates for self-protection, then absolutely shoot one to make sure it does what it's supposed to. Okay. All right. Dale's in. He's coming. Of course. Smash, what is your thoughts on 327 Federal Magnum? I don't know. I don't think I've ever shot that.
People love it. I've never owned one. I've never shot one. But those who have, it's almost like a 357, but it gives you that little bit less that you're looking for in terms of muzzle management and recoil.
Mm-hmm.
And they say it's a more pleasurable time to shoot at the range and to get good with. It's very expensive. And fewer.
What's expensive?
What's that?
What's expensive?
The 327 Magnum.
Like, is it like $1 a bullet or?
Oh, what's expensive? Yeah, that's a good question. I never really paid much attention to it, but it's almost like the 30 Super Carry. Very few are making it in 327 Magnum because the interest just isn't that high. If you look at the 38 Special Plus P, I don't know. Don't kill me on this one, but it may not be that great of a ballistic advantage in the 327 Magnum. Maybe it is. I don't know, but it's just easier. You already have it. You can just throw it in there. You don't need it specific firearm chambered in that round.
All right, I'm sold. I still wish they'd have a semi-automatic 17 HMR. Like I wish I could get like an AR. I think one company had an AR-15 in 17 HMR, but I have so much of that round. I have so many 17 HMR rounds that I have nothing really to shoot it out of except a couple bolt guns.
I want to go. I want to grab the 17 HMR, get a high power optic, and then go shoot those squirrels and those, what do they call those little things that pop out of the ground? And
groundhog?
Yeah, groundhogs or anything. What are they? The prairie dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love if anybody out there has property with a bunch of prairie dogs or anything, and you want me lurking around for like a weekend or so, let me know. That would make me so happy. Yeah. I would grab I'd get some of my best firearms and just shoot these prairie dogs and squirrels and groundhogs and snakes and whatever else. That would be fun.
That is so funny.
From 200 yards.
There was a guy on YouTube. I don't know if the video is still up, but he would put tannerite behind these little prairie dogs, and as soon as they pop their heads out, he'd shoot it, and they would just go flying through the air. They'd explode.
That would be great.
I don't know. I
That's
remember
hilarious. See, now that's a video I would really enjoy.
Well, have you seen the guy that does the squirrel catapults?
No.
So there's a guy, everyone in the chat, I'm sure you've seen, it was a couple of you had to have seen this guy. So there's a guy in the on YouTube where he makes catapults. And as soon and he puts food on it, and as soon as a squirrel gets on it, it zings it 30, 40 feet across this fence. It is hilarious.
That is hilarious.
He has all kinds of different catapults where he'll shoot these squirrels. I mean, they probably don't die, but they go right into a tree or something, man. It's pretty funny.
That'd be like that said somebody else trap shooting, you know, see the squirrel. That would be fun.
It is really funny. I love it. You know, YouTube is a wondrous place, but sometimes you can go down these rabbit holes, Dan, and 1 minute you're watching gun reviews, and you're watching two girls slap fighting, and then you're watching midget tossing, and then it just goes nuts. I mean, you just go down these rabbit holes. Yeah. You never know where you're going to end up.
Right.
The other day I was watching Hoof. This guy was repairing horse hooves that were overgrown. I watched like 10 of those videos for some reason. I don't know. I don't know. Misty says Ruger makes a single action 17 HMR. Really? That's right. I remember seeing something about that.
So is that like the little 22 Charger that you've got a bipod on and you put an optic on? And it's
no, I think it's just a standard revolver.
Really?
Yeah.
But don't you want something with a longer barrel that you could zone in on, shoot a prairie dog from 150 yards away?
Yeah, that would be pretty fun. So, Dan, what's next on your channel? What do you got coming up?
Well, interesting you ask. I had a experience when I was a 15, 16-year-old kid, somewhere around there, where I was bullied as a kid. And I've had this video ready for 2 weeks. I just got in front of my safe and I told my story, and I related it to how kids react these days when they're bullied. A bunch of panty weights, pretty much. And I shouldn't say that because I know, bullying can be real traumatic. And I talked about that. I talked about this video has been demonetized for 2 weeks now. There's not a gun shown in it. There's absolutely nothing going on with it. I've taken it down. I've taken it back up. It's just my story. That's all it is. It's my story about a kid being bullied and how I handled it. I really want to share that video with people, not for any other reason than to send the message to talk to your kid. Because I spoke about how my dad prepped me to handle this situation, and it was just great parenting. And so at the end, I basically said, my hope here is somebody will hear my story and talk to their kid in case something similar happens. And so I really want to run that video. And you guys out there say, well, it's demonetized. Just take the hit on the money and put it out there. I understand why you think that. But once it's demonetized, the video is suppressed. YouTube doesn't push it, so it reaches a smaller audience. And this one in particular, I've waited for 2 weeks.
100% true. Dan is 100% true. The way YouTube works, if they can't put ads on your video, they won't push them out. So only people will see it is just the people that hit the notification bell on Dan's video, but they won't push it to anybody new. So it will never see the light of day. It's unfortunate. I've had it happen to me too.
Right. So you say, well, you're being a big baby because you're not getting your money. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm being a big baby because I want people to hear my message, which is a true scenario that took place in my life. And it was very true how my dad prepped me to deal with it. And so that's why. And so with monetization, you have to click the little ad thing and everything else, but it reaches more people. And there's nobody that puts the time and energy in to make a video to not reach a lot of people. It's our goal that everything goes viral. We're realistic enough to know that it's not going to happen, but that is the goal because we want to reach people. Nobody's on YouTube to not reach people. Nobody's on here. suppose some people are to make a lot of money, but we want to reach people, you know, and that's the ultimate goal. And if you can't do that because it's demonetized, then it's a waste of time and energy.
those videos suck because it's like, you know, you put a lot of time and work into it, and you didn't do anything wrong. You followed the YouTube guidelines, and they're gonna ding you just because. But
Yeah. So you asked what I want, what I have up next. If they would change that yellow to green, I would love to share that with my audience. They get to know me a little bit better, a little bit about my background, and then hopefully talk to their kid about.
plus, I was
bullying.
teased growing up a little bit, and you know, it builds character, it builds thicker skin. You know, I mean, a little bit of teasing and joking around isn't a bad thing. You know,
Yeah.
some people take it a little too far, but
I really want this to go public so I could, so everybody could see what happened to me as a kid and how it was dealt with and how my
yeah,
dad prepped me.
I want to see how bad you beat that kid up.
I talk about
Stay
that too.
tuned. Stay tuned. We're gonna have to hear the story.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, man, it's always good to have you on. You're a wealth, an absolute wealth of knowledge, and don't ever feel bad about taking over this show because, I mean, you're what makes the show great.
Well, I appreciate that. I'd like to thank you for having me on. I'd like to thank everybody who tuned in, who added comments. Thank you for listening to the two of us converse, and I hope that something was said where you may have learned something. And if anything else, please join a group that has a legal team that can fight some of these things we discussed instead of just complaining about it. Complaining about it's not going to get us anywhere. Let's help the people that can actually do something on the ground level. And my go-to is GOA, and I'm hoping that we become a more active community because the forces of evil are out there. They're alive and well, and they're coming after people like us who've done nothing wrong other than we love guns. And that's the exact thing they hate. They hate guns, and they hate us for owning them.
Amen to that. Dan, thank you so much for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Real quick, guys, Clay from Clyco47 is having his live stream. His very first one. I put a link to his channel. I put a link to Dan's channel. Join Dan for sure. Make sure you like and subscribe to his channel, and click on Clay's and go over there and show some support and tell him Smash Time sent you. I'd really get a kick out of it. But man, I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in November, buddy. Hopefully it's not snowing.
Thanks. Don't bring a sticky holster.
Oh, I got some stuff. Thank you guys so much for watching.